For centuries, humanity had been the diplomats of the stars. They traded, they mediated, they built bridges where others burned them. Among the 1,000 races of the Galactic Assembly, humans were the ones who preached restraint, who turned enemies into allies with their words rather than their weapons. But patience is a finite resource. The first sparks began at the outer colonies. Trade routes were raided by the Krell, a reptilian empire with a taste for intimidation. Earth protested but chose dialogue over war. When the Krell demanded tribute, humanity paid. When they seized 2 mining stations, humanity negotiated. When they took the colony of Valdara and enslaved its people, humanity sent envoys instead of fleets. The Assembly called this wisdom. The Krell called it weakness. Decades passed, each injustice endured in the name of peace. Humanity absorbed the blows, swallowed the insults, and rebuilt what was taken. They said humans were adaptable, resilient, forgiving. Then came Argoth 7, a lush planet on the edge of human territory, home to 2 million settlers, scientists, and families. It was neutral ground under Assembly law, a place where cultures mingled freely. The Krell invaded under false pretenses, claiming security concerns, and turned the cities into camps. Thousands were executed in the first week. When the images leaked, children in cages, hospitals burning, peace envoys shot on sight, the galaxy watched for Earth's response. The Assembly convened emergency sessions, urging restraint. And for a month, humanity said nothing. No threats. No statements. No broadcasts. Just silence. Admiral Reiko Tanaka of the Terran Defense Fleet sat in her command room aboard the dreadnought ISS Retribution. Around her, the greatest war council humanity had ever assembled listened to the final message from the Assembly. Further military escalation is forbidden. She looked at the recording, at the faces of those who had begged them for patience one last time. And then she deleted it. Transmit to the fleet, she said. Her voice was calm, cold, final. Operation Black Dawn is authorized. The Krell never expected them to come so fast. On the first day, every known Krell shipyard within 3 sectors burned. On the second, human strike teams infiltrated their communication hubs, broadcasting the atrocities of Argoth 7 across the galaxy, turning allies into witnesses, witnesses into cowards. By the end of the first week, 20 Krell worlds were dark. And humanity had declared no war. They set no ultimatums. They simply acted. Admiral Tanaka watched as the fleets executed their maneuvers with terrifying precision. Humanity had learned from every war the galaxy had ever fought, absorbing tactics, adapting technologies, anticipating counterstrikes. They fought like no species had fought before. Not for conquest, not for glory, but with the single-minded fury of a species that had been betrayed one time too many. The Assembly pleaded for ceasefires. The Krell sued for negotiations. Neither message was answered, because humanity was no longer listening. On the 21st day, the Krell Supreme Warlord sent a desperate transmission to the Galactic Assembly. They do not sleep. They do not stop. We surrender. The signal cut off when the ISS Retribution arrived in orbit of their homeworld. Admiral Tanaka gave no speech to the enemy. She gave her orders. Begin extraction of prisoners. Dismantle their arsenals. Disable their war council. Shall we leave survivors? Her second-in-command asked. Tanaka's gaze lingered on the burning cities below. Yes, she said at last. Let them live. Let them remember. And so they did. When the fire settled, the galaxy was different. Trade routes ran on human terms now. Assembly chambers whispered of the 3 silent weeks, when Earth said nothing, because it was preparing everything. Delegates asked, why didn't they warn us? Why didn't they negotiate one last time? Because there comes a moment when patience stops being a virtue and starts being complicity. The crowd learned that. The assembly learned that. And the rest of the galaxy, watching the Terran banners rise over reclaimed worlds, etched that moment into history. It wasn't the fleets that terrified them most. It wasn't the weapons, or the precision strikes, or even the cold efficiency with which humanity dismantled an empire. It was the silence before the storm. Because no species would ever forget the moment humanity's patience finally snapped, and the stars went quiet.